Good evening and welcome into Sports Talk on a Budget. It is Tuesday, April 16th, year of our Lord 2023. Going to be a special show today. This is going to be my NFL mock draft show. NFL draft is exactly 9 days from today, so going to be my total mock draft show. Just going to do the first round. No trades in this mock draft. I don't believe in doing trades. I think it's too hard to mock trades. I let the people that are a little more close, a little more experts, that'll have more connections within the league since I have zero, go ahead and do the mock trades. But this is going to be my full NFL first round mock draft episode, special episode today, 9 days till the NFL draft. This is one of my favorite times of year. Love the NFL draft. Love kind of scouting and looking for some of these young players. I watch a ton of college football, so I know a lot of these players just from watching the league. So this is a special episode today, NFL mock draft. But before we get into that, of course, if you like this show, go ahead and like, subscribe right down here. And leave a comment if you feel like it. I am okay with constructive criticism. If you prefer the audio version, this is also a podcast. It is available on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and basically wherever you get your podcasts. But like I said, let's go ahead and dive into the topics. And there's only one topic today, and it's going to be my mock draft. So let's go ahead and dive into my NFL mock draft. Number one, we have the Chicago Bears, and this is pretty much set in stone. I know there's still guys out there like Orlovsky and Louis Riddick that are saying that Jaden Daniels is the better quarterback, but I think the Bears have had this idea basically since it was set that they were gonna have the number one pick from their trade with Carolina last year. So, number one overall pick, I believe, is going to be Caleb Williams, a quarterback from USC. Of course, I'm biased as a USC fan, but watch basically every snap that Caleb Williams has had for USC for the last 2 years. Super dynamic quarterback, can play within the pocket well, is really well on the move. Escapability is second to none from quarterbacks that I've watched in the college football game. So makes all the throws, deadly accurate, but can also make throws off platform. Has those Mahomes kind of like arm angles that he can use, throw off platform like Mahomes does. Caleb Williams is very close to a can't-miss prospect as you can get. I don't love to use the term generational talent, but if we were going to use the term, it would be on a guy like Caleb Williams. So I think it's a no-doubter that the Bears take him at number one. I think it's pretty much solidified at this point. So number one overall pick, Chicago Bears select Caleb Williams. My number two overall pick is going to be the Washington Commanders, and it's going to be Jaden Daniels, the quarterback from LSU. Reigning Heisman Trophy winner, really upped his game, was probably going to be a third or fourth round pick coming into the season, had an unbelievable year. You know he can run the ball. You know he can be slippery, and he's very elusive running a ball. Tall guy, a little skinny for my liking. I think he needs to put on some weight, but tall guy, goes about 6'3", about 215, 212, I think is what he weighed in at his pro day. But he's a guy who can make a lot of the throws, is a really good deep ball thrower. Yes, he played with two guys that are going to be drafted in the first round that I have drafted in the first round at wide receiver, but he made them even better and they made him better. Guy is just an unbelievable athlete. What I don't love about Jaden Daniels is the hits he takes. It's a little bit of RG3 where he takes a lot of those hits. You're not going to be able to do that in the NFL. He couldn't really do that in the SEC. He got hurt in the SEC doing that. So hopefully he learns to get out of bounds and slides, but his athleticism and his just overall accuracy and deep ball accuracy is really he probably has the best deep ball accuracy of any quarterback in this draft, and that's including Caleb Williams. So that's why I like Jaden Daniels to go number two overall to the Washington Commanders. I think he fits well in the Cliff Kingsbury offense with Cliff Kingsbury, the new OC in Washington. And number three, we'll go with my Patriots, and I think this is the opportunity that they may be able to trade out because they have a lot of needs. But like I said, I don't do trades in my mock drafts. I think it's just too hard to do trades, especially with someone like me who's not connected in the league as many other people are, whether it's Daniel Jeremiah, Mel Kiper, whoever the case may be. But my number three pick is going to be quarterback Drake May, and that's a quarterback from North Carolina. Now, Drake May, a lot of people have comped him to Justin Herbert. I think the size is there, the arm strength, maybe not as strong as Herbert, but pretty strong. He can make a lot of the throws. The thing that worries me about Drake May is his film is very inconsistent. His feet aren't great. Sometimes he shuffles his feet and his feet aren't set when he makes a throw. He can make a lot of throws off balance. You can do that in college and get away with that, but the windows are tighter in the NFL, and you're not going to be able to do that and get away with that in the NFL. Needs to clean up some of his overall mechanics. I believe he doesn't start day one for the Patriots. They'll go ahead and start Jacoby Brissett, but I like Drake May as the third best quarterback, and he'll be the number 3 overall pick to the New England Patriots here. With the number 4 pick, I have Marvin Harrison Jr. going to the Arizona Cardinals. I like Malik Nabers a lot. I like Rome Odunze a lot, but I still believe Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best wide receiver in this draft. Goes about 6'3", 6'4", a little over 200 pounds. Guy is just a silky smooth route runner, great hands. He's not great after the catch like maybe Nabers or Odunze is, but he's really good after the catch as well. And that pedigree, his dad is basically top 5 in every offensive in every receiving category all time. So you have that pedigree with his dad. I just like Marvin Harrison a lot. I think he's still the number 1 wide receiver. I know he didn't test and didn't interview, and he kind of turned off some people there, but I still think he's the best wide receiver in the draft here. At number 5, I've been back and forth. I think this is another trade area with the Chargers here, but I went with Malik Nabers, the wide receiver out of LSU to the LA Chargers. Reason I went with Malik Nabers is because his ceiling is just super high. He could be a guy, maybe not as fast as Tyreek Hill, but he has a lot of the same requisite talent that Tyreek Hill does. Fast, good after the catch, good out of the backfield as well, and great hands, good ball skills, can jump out of the gym as well. So Malik Nabers has probably got the highest ceiling of any of these wide receivers just because of the skill set he has. So that's why I have him at number 5 to the LA Chargers at number 5. My number 6 overall pick is going to be with the New York Giants. We're going to have a little bit of run on receiver here. And I have the New York Giants taking Rome Odunze. A lot of people are saying that the Giants need to take a quarterback, and that's probably true because I don't love Daniel Jones. But let's give him some sort of weapon here. Rome Odunze is a guy, good size, 6'3", a little over 200 pounds, great ball skills. He was great with Michael Penix Jr., very good after the catch, great hands. Give Daniel Jones, you're going to need him probably for one more year. Give him a weapon. He really hasn't had a number 1 receiving threat the entire time he's been with the New York Giants. So give him a weapon. So that's why I like Rome Odunze going number 6 to the New York Giants. And then at number 7, we have the Tennessee Titans. And Tennessee Titans went all out this past offseason. You signed Tony Pollard. You signed Calvin Ridley. You get some guys on the defensive side as well. But what they need to address is it looks like they're going to go with Will Levis as their franchise quarterback at least for the next year or two, is that offensive line. And I think they take the best offensive tackle in this draft, and that is tackle Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. Goes number 7 overall to the Tennessee Titans. And number 8, we have the Atlanta Falcons, and of course they signed Kirk Cousins in free agency, so they have a new quarterback. I think they go defense here. I really like their offensive weapons, whether it's London, Pitts, Bijan Robinson, even Tyler Algier. I think they go defense here, and this is where your first defensive player is going to come off the board. And I like Dallas Turner, the edge rusher out of Alabama, to go to the Atlanta Falcons with the number 8 overall pick. Dallas Turner was super productive, whether it was on the other side of Will Anderson for 2 years in his freshman and sophomore campaign, but also had a very successful junior campaign on his own without Will Anderson, showed that he can be a guy that's not just on the other side of Will Anderson. So I like Dallas Turner a lot. Good size, good speed, good hands, good overall edge rusher. At the number 9 overall pick, I have the Chicago Bears. A lot of people are thinking wide receiver here, but with the first 3 off the board, I don't know if they reach for the 4th best wide receiver. So I think they go defense here, and they take Laiatu Latu, the edge rusher out of UCLA. You put him on the other side. You have him and blanking who's the guy on the other side there. But now you have bookend defensive ends to play. And you know Chicago likes their defense. Matt Eberflus is a defensive guy, defensive coordinator, obviously the head coach as well. But you put him on, and now you have your bookend defensive ends. Laiatu Latu was super productive for UCLA these last 2 years. You can argue one of the best edge rushers in college football the last 2 years was Laiatu Latu. So I really like this pick. Now you have your bookend DNs for the future. Both are young and good players as well for the Chicago Bears. And then at the number 10 overall pick, we have the New York Jets. Do the Jets do their classic thing and try to take a skill position, whether that be Brock Bowers or one of the wide receivers, take them a little bit higher? I don't believe they do that. I think they actually make a smart pick for once, even though they've had some good picks in the recent years in the first round. But I think they go with Olu Fashanu, the tackle out of Penn State. They picked up some tackles in the offseason free agency, Tyron Smith. They got the tackle from Baltimore as well. Both those guys have injury concerns and probably aren't going to be your tackles of the future. Probably just going to be there for the Aaron Rodgers era, whether that's 1 or 2 years. You're going to need a guy who can play left tackle or at least right tackle to start. going forward and be your future either left or right tackle. And that's where I think Olu Fashanu comes in. Guy super productive at Penn State. Played basically since his freshman year, played a lot of snaps there, was very good in both the run game and in pass protection as well. So I like Olu Fashanu a lot, and I think he has a very high ceiling for a tackle as well. At number 11, we have the Minnesota Vikings. And Minnesota is one of those teams that could be rumored to trade up with potentially the Patriots, the Cardinals, or even the Chargers. But like I said, I don't do trades in my mock draft, so they stay at 11, and a lot of smokes around them taking a quarterback. I think they do take a quarterback in overdraft here, and they take J.J. McCarthy. There's a lot of smoke around J.J. McCarthy, and he has a lot of the requisite tools. I just didn't see it. I watched a decent amount of Michigan football, and when you watch Michigan football, you see what comes off the screen is the run game, the offensive line, and the defense. J.J. McCarthy he made a couple of wow throws against Ohio State and in the national championship game and in the semifinal game against Alabama and Washington, respectively. But never did I sit there and watch Michigan and be like, wow, J.J. McCarthy is that guy at quarterback. Never did I think that. Never did I ever think that during a Michigan game that I watched. So, like I said, he's got a lot of skills, but it's a lot of projecting. Okay, he could project to be this guy. I think he's more of a project. They signed Sam Darnold. That'll be their starting quarterback. You have a ton of weapons there, whether it's Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson. You sign Aaron Jones away from the Green Bay Packers. So I think if J.J. McCarthy sits for maybe a year behind Sam Darnold, he will have an opportunity. He should not go into the season as a projected starter. But with the 11th overall pick, I think the Minnesota Vikings reach there, and they take J.J. McCarthy. And then we'll have a little run here on quarterback reaches. Number 12, the Denver Broncos. They miss out on the top 3 quarterbacks. They miss out on what a lot of people think is the 4th best quarterback. I don't, but a lot of people do think McCarthy is the 4th best quarterback. I think they get desperate there, and this happens a lot of times in NFL drafts. When you see quarterbacks come off the board, you see teams start to reach for another quarterback, and the Denver Broncos take Bo Nix out of Oregon. Now, I do think that's a reach. I don't think he's the 12th best player anywhere near kind of the 12th best player in this draft, but the fit is there. The fit is definitely there with Bo Nix and Sean Payton's offense. If you watch Bo Nix at Oregon, what did he do well? It was on time, on rhythm, getting the ball out of his hands and making quick decisions. That is something that Drew Brees did masterfully for Sean Payton in their time in New Orleans, and that is something that Russell Wilson could not do and really isn't his game, and that's why it was kind of oil and water mix for him and Sean Payton in Denver. So I think the Bo Nix combination with Sean Payton is a really good combination. Is it a reach? Is he worth taking at the number 12 overall pick? Probably not. But quarterback is the most important position in all of American sports, in my opinion. So you need to make sure you get the quarterback position right. And I think they're going to reach there. And that's why I have, with the 12th overall pick, the Denver Broncos taking Bo Nix out of Oregon, the quarterback out of Oregon. With the 13th overall pick, we have the Oakland Raiders. You can argue that they may go ahead and take another quarterback, and we have another run on quarterbacks as well. I don't have that here. I think they need a lot of help on defense, a lot of help in the secondary as well. Antonio Pierce, defensive guy, obviously a linebacker. I think he takes defense here, and I think he takes the best corner, in my opinion, off the board here, and he takes Terrion Arnold, the cornerback out of Alabama. They could go Quinyon Mitchell here. We'll get to him in a little bit, but Terrion Arnold, 3 years in the SEC, playing guys, wide receivers that are already playing on Sundays, and fared well in a lot of big matchups as well. Good cornerback, learned from Nick Saban, who's one of the best corner coaches of all time. So that's why I have the Raiders with the 13th overall pick, taking Terrion Arnold out of Alabama, the cornerback out of Alabama. With the 14th overall pick, we have the New Orleans Saints, and I think they have a glaring need right now on the offensive side, and it's on the offensive line. And then go ahead and take the 3rd best offensive lineman in this draft. They take the tackle Talisi Fuaga out of Oregon State, another guy who was very good in the run game, decent pass protector, but a very good run blocker. That's what they did a lot with their running backs in Oregon State. So I like this pick. You got to get a guy that's going to protect Derek Carr. He looks like he's going to be your quarterback for at least the next couple of years. Get a guy who can protect him. He's not as young and as mobile as he used to be. So with the 14th overall pick, I have the Saints taking Talisi Fuaga from Oregon State, the tackle from Oregon State. With the 15th overall pick, I have the Indianapolis Colts taking tight end Brock Bowers from Georgia. And I think Brock Bowers is one of the 5 best players in this draft. It's just his position isn't as high of value as some of these other positions, and that's why he drops the 15. But I think if you're sitting there, you have a young quarterback in Anthony Richardson. One of the best things you can give a young quarterback is a reliable tight end. You have that with Brock Bowers. You pair him with guys like Michael Pittman. They have some younger receivers coming on as well. I think that's a home run for the Colts. You could stay at 15 and draft one of the top 5 players in this draft. So that's why I like with the number 15 overall pick, the Indianapolis Colts select Brock Bowers, the tight end out of Georgia. With the 16th overall pick, we have the Seattle Seahawks. There's rumors that they may take Michael Penix, who was in their backyard, to kind of be the heir apparent to Geno Smith. I think they go defense here. You just hired Mike Macdonald, the defensive coordinator from the Baltimore Ravens, to be your head coach. I think you go defense here. You take the next best corner off the board in Quinyon Mitchell, the cornerback from Toledo. Probably the corner with the highest ceiling, the best athlete, and maybe the really good ball skills as well, but the best athlete at the cornerback position. And Quinyon Mitchell, he tested really well, both at the Senior Bowl, at his pro day, at the Combine. He's kind of really taken his name to the next level. Came in probably as a mid-second round pick, going in the Senior Bowl. Now he leaves his pro day as probably a mid-first round pick. Made himself a lot of money. Really high ceiling, really good athlete. I think that'll be a big pickup for this Seattle Seahawks defense. Then we move to the 17th overall pick, and we have the Jacksonville Jaguars at 17. And the Jaguars, you lose Calvin Ridley. Yes, you do add the wide receiver. Why am I blanking on his name? The wide receiver from the Buffalo Bills, but he was kind of their number 3 wide receiver. Why am I blanking on his name? But we'll get back to that in a second. But you lose Calvin Ridley, who was your number 1 wide receiver. You still have Christian Kirk. You still have Zay Jones. You still have some good wide receivers, but I really believe that you're going to need another wide receiver, another weapon for Trevor Lawrence, who is kind of sputtered a little bit last year, did not have a great year after his good sophomore campaign. So that's why I think they take the other wide receiver from LSU, and that is Brian Thomas Jr., will be the number 17th overall pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars from LSU, the wide receiver from LSU. And then we have the Cincinnati Bengals. And if Brock Bowers ends up at 18, the Bengals will take him in a freaking heartbeat, I believe. But he goes at 15 to the Indianapolis Colts. And what have the Bengals been trying to figure out for the last 3 years since Joe Burrow's been in the league? Their offensive line. And you get Orlando Brown last year. Still not a great offensive line. You have your left tackle. Go ahead and get your right tackle. Protect Joe Burrow. He is your franchise. He keeps getting injured. You keep making him one of the highest sack players in the league. Protect your quarterback. Get another tackle in there to protect him. And that's why I think they take Troy Fontenot, the tackle from Washington, to go ahead and get bookend with Orlando Brown and Fontenot. Now you have a legit offensive line. You can protect Joe Burrow and keep your franchise upright. With the number 19 overall pick, we have the Los Angeles Rams, and they just lost their best player in Aaron Donald, the defensive tackle. I think they need to try to replace him. Now, you can't replace Aaron Donald. There's nobody in this draft that's Aaron Donald. I'm sorry, at least at the defensive tackle or defensive player position. But you can get someone who can project to be a very good defensive tackle in the league, and that's Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle out of Texas. He played next to T'Vondre Sweat, so both of them were very productive defensive tackles. He'll play next to Kobe Turner for the Los Angeles Rams. I think that'll be a very good defensive line. You're going to need that when you go up against guys like Christian McCaffrey, and then you have Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet for the Seattle Seahawks. So you're going to need to stop the run. When you lose a guy like Aaron Donald, it's going to just get more difficult to do that. So I think that's why you go with Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle out of Texas, to go ahead and fill that void. Yes, no one can really fill that void, but this is the closest you can get. So with the 19th overall pick, the Rams select Byron Murphy, defensive tackle out of Texas. Then we go to number 20, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have had issues on the offensive line of late. They've gotten older. Some of their guys have retired or just not as productive as they used to be. And now you bring in two quarterbacks that like to hold onto the ball and scramble around in both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. You need offensive line help to go ahead and keep those guys upright because they're not quick decision makers. They're not quick delivery guys. They're guys that like to hold the ball, move around in the pocket, try to make plays, and you need a good offensive line to kind of hold up with those guys at quarterback. So I think they take the biggest player in this draft. Basically, he's like 6'8", over 300 pounds, and that's Amarius Mims, the offensive tackle out of Georgia. So with the 20th overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers take Amarius Mims, the tackle out of Georgia. Then with the 21st overall pick, we have the Miami Dolphins. And I went up back and forth a lot of different places here, but another quarterback that needs protecting, a smaller guy. Tua had a good, healthy year last year. We saw the year before with the concussion issues and the other issues that he had. He was injured a lot. So you need to protect your who's supposed to be potentially your franchise in Tua Tagovailoa. I think they go interior offensive line and go with the best interior offensive lineman, and that is Jackson Powers Johnson. Can play both center and guard, I believe, in the league. That is the center out of Oregon, but I think he can also play guard and will play guard for the Miami Dolphins in the 2024 or 24 season. So with the 21st overall pick, the Dolphins select Jackson Powers Johnson, the interior offensive lineman out of Oregon. And now we have the 22nd overall pick, and we have the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles really need to address their defense, especially in the secondary. And I think this is the perfect time to take a guy like Cooper DeJean. They have him listed as safety. He played corner in Iowa, but can play both corner and safety. Really versatile guy, great ball skills, intercepted a lot of balls at Iowa, is good after the catch on those interceptions as well, but is good in coverage. Like I said, he can play corner, he could play safety, he could play basically anywhere in the defensive backfield. I like this guy a lot, and I think he can really help that defensive secondary for the Philadelphia Eagles. So with the 22nd overall pick, I like the Eagles to select Cooper DeJean, the safety / cornerback out of Iowa. With the 23rd overall pick, we have the Minnesota Vikings. And we already had them taking J.J. McCarthy. I think their offense is pretty much set. Like I mentioned earlier, they have a ton of weapons. Their offensive line is actually pretty good as well. I think they need to start worrying about their defense, especially that defensive front, when you're playing teams that have good running games. Josh Jacobs is now in Green Bay. You have the two-headed monster in David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs in Detroit. The Bears can also run the ball well as well. So you're going to need someone up front to kind of slow down the run. And that's why I think they take the defensive tackle from Illinois, Johnny Newton, goes number 23 overall to the Minnesota Vikings. At number 24, we have the Dallas Cowboys. There's some smoke that they may take a quarterback like Penix or Nix if they drop here. I don't think that's happening. I don't know what's going on with the front office there, what their plans are post-Dak, if that is going to be the case next year, post-Dak and post-McCarthy. Dallas Cowboys have had a weird offseason, but either way, I think they need to replace their offensive line. You lose Tyron Smith in free agency. I know he's had some injuries, but he was still your starting offensive lineman the last 2 years on opening weekend. So you go ahead and take J.C. Latham, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. Go ahead and stick him at that left tackle position. He's not going to be Tyron Smith, but he can be a good replacement, and he's going to probably play more games than Tyron Smith has played in the last 3 years. So with the 24th overall pick, I have the Dallas Cowboys taking J.C. Latham, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. With the 25th overall pick, we have the Green Bay Packers, and I think they need to think defense as well. They spent a lot of draft capital on the offensive side the last couple of years. Defense is where I really think they need to hit on, and especially in the defensive secondary. They're going to take the best corner on the board at this point, and that is Nate Wiggins, the cornerback from Clemson. So with the 25th overall pick, we have the Green Bay Packers selecting Nate Wiggins, the cornerback out of Clemson. At the 26th overall pick, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And you lose, like Shaq Barrett's getting up there, you lose. The defense is not what it was when Brady was there and they won the Super Bowl. They're not getting after the quarterback nearly as well as they used to. They need some juice up on that defensive line and someone who can get after the quarterback. And I think that's why they take Jared Verse here. Was seen by a lot coming into the season as probably a top 5, top 10 pick. Didn't have the greatest year production-wise for Florida State this year, but still, guy has all the requisite tools. Big, strong guy, good moves, good quick hands. And he was still productive enough these last 2 years for Florida State. I like this guy a lot. I think you put him on that defensive line at the defensive end position for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think he can have a really nice career for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll go ahead and move down to 27, and we have the Arizona Cardinals. We're going to stick at that edge rusher, defensive end / outside linebacker position. And we're going to take Chop Robinson, the defensive end / linebacker out of Penn State. This guy was super productive. He basically made Michigan play one-dimensional in that game. They couldn't throw the ball against Penn State because Chop Robinson was just eating up their left tackle, so they had to run the ball. He needs to get better in the run game, but is really good in the pass game. Can get after the quarterback really well. Good hands, quick, and has good moves on the outside as well. So I like Chop Robinson a lot to go to the Arizona Cardinals at number 27 overall. With the 28th overall pick, we have the Buffalo Bills, who just traded away to Stephon Diggs. So right now you're going in this season, you bring in Curtis Samuel, you have guys like Khalil Shakir. You're probably going to do a lot of 2 tight end sets with Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. I think they need another receiver. I think they take Adonai Mitchell out of Texas, another really productive guy. Started his career with the Georgia Bulldogs, actually got a ring and a national championship with the Georgia Bulldogs. Transfers to Texas, which was a loaded wide receiver room, but was able to still be productive. And in my opinion, they're by far best overall receiver. So with the 28th overall pick, I have the Buffalo Bills taking Adonai Mitchell, the wide receiver out of Texas. We move to the 29th pick, and we have the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions, I think they're really set on the offensive side. You have good running backs, obviously good quarterback in Jared Goff. Can maybe get another receiver. I like their tight end with Laporta that they got in the second round last year. That was a slam dunk pick. I think they need to address the secondary of this defense. That was their biggest weakness. They're good against the run, but in the pass game, they are not good against the pass, and they were not good against the pass on defense this past year. So they go ahead and get the other cornerback from Alabama, and that is Kool-Aid McKinstry. Also a guy very productive, came in super highly touted, 5-star recruit, came in, was able to live up to that hype and had a really good year. Him and Terrion Arnold were a really good combination of corners. He played against some NFL talent these last couple of years in the SEC. So I like Kool-Aid McKinstry to be the number 29th overall pick to the Detroit Lions. With the 30th overall pick, we have the Baltimore Ravens. And the Baltimore Ravens have lost a couple offensive linemen. One went to the Jets, and then I believe the other one either retired or is still a free agent. They need more offensive line help. You know they're going to run the ball. Now they have Derrick Henry. They're always going to run the ball with Lamar Jackson. So you need offensive line help. You take the best guy. This is a deep tackle draft, one of the deepest tackle drafts maybe of all time. You take the next best tackle. I know it's like the 5th tackle at this point, but he's still a very good first-round talent, and that is Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. Will be the 30th overall pick to the Baltimore Ravens. And now we get to the 31st overall pick, and that is going to be the San Francisco 49ers. And we're going to address the offensive line for the 49ers as well. You have an all-pro, all-time great left tackle in Trent Williams, but the rest of your offensive line is not really much to speak about. You know you're going to want to run the ball with Christian McCaffrey. You know you're going to want to obviously protect Brock Purdy. Get someone to put on that right side at right tackle that you can trust and you can depend on. And that's why I think they go with Jordan Morgan, the offensive tackle out of Arizona. Now you have your left tackle, of course, in Trent Williams, who's an all-timer, all-pro, one of the best left tackles of all time. And now you have your right tackle in Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle out of Arizona. I really like that, those two bookends there. And now you can really run the ball even more effectively with Christian McCaffrey as well. And then the 32nd, the last overall pick, you have the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, the Super Bowl champions. I think their biggest need we saw last year was wide receiver help, and their best wide receiver from last year, Rashee Rice, his status is up in the air with everything that's going on from that street racing and accident incident. He's probably going to at least have a 4-game suspension. We'll see what happens with the legal side as well. So they may not have Rashee Rice for some of the season, and I think they still need another receiver anyway. You sign Marquise Brown from the Cardinals this offseason. That's going to kind of be your deep threat. He's going to try to kind of step in and be that Tyreek Hill type, kind of like a poor man's Tyreek Hill there. But you need someone that's going to be more of a possession receiver, and that's why I think they take Ladd McConkey, the wide receiver out of Georgia. Possession guy, can play on the inside, can play on the outside, but I think he'll be more of a slot receiver in the NFL. I think he's a guy, really good hands, really good route runner, smart, heady kid. I think he'll get along with Patrick Mahomes right away. I think this would be a really good weapon to go along with Marquise Brown, Travis Kelce, and then whenever they get back, Rashee Rice. But now you have another receiving weapon to give to the best quarterback in the NFL, and Patrick Mahomes. So that has been my mock draft. That was my first round mock draft. I'll go ahead and I'll drop the kind of the picture breaking down each picks, or at least showing each pick here on my social media pages as well. But that, of course, has also been Sports Talk on a Budget. That has been my show for today. If you like the audio version, please follow me and listen to it on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you like the video version here on YouTube, like and subscribe right down there. Thank you again for always watching and listening to the show, and have a great day.